Good evening, guys. This is Shankaraj Subramanian here. For those who are very new, my name is Shankaraj Subramanian and I'm a certified ethical hacker. I hope my screen is shared and you guys are able to see this. Okay, chat is disabled. Fine. Fine. And I'm a certified ethical hacker with 15 years of experience in this field. I've been working with a lot of global clients for pen testing projects, security related projects, and a lot of different projects. And I've traveled to 45 countries till now. I've given 100 plus international sessions, and I've trained Tamil Nadu Police Department for 4 years, for the past 4 years, and I'm helping cybercrime department in solving critical cybercrime related issues. I'm providing consultation services to them. I've trained Indian Army, Indian Navy, and I've also trained ISRO and a lot of other corporates from India and abroad as well. And I'm the founder and CEO of Prompt Infotech, which is a cybersecurity solutions company, and we are also providing training on this domain. Right? And coming to this today's topic, so it's going to be an introduction of what ethical hacking is, what pen testing is, and what other options you have, what types of exploitations you have, how to start with bug hunting. We'll discuss. We'll make the honor of time here. Okay, useful. Give me 1 minute. I'll disable annotation participants, share screen, share. Stop share, yes. I think you have to allow me for sharing my screen. I have stopped sharing it.
Yeah, I will do it. Okay. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So we are going to discuss about that. So starting with ethical hacking, yes, as you guys know, ethical hacking is one of the most common, become one of the most common domains today with the digital India and other things, where everything is being digitalized, and internet has become a common man usage for everyone. So probably companies, corporates, and even as a common man, everyone is targeting, or everyone seeks to achieve security with whatever devices they have, securing the data, information security, or with their network infrastructure, or with the total infrastructure for global corporates. Yes, security is playing a vital role, and companies are trying very hard to achieve security for their infrastructure. And yes, we do have a lot of different attacks which is happening, and that is where ethical hackers come into picture. Ethical hackers, people who have good knowledge of how an attacker can work, how what strategies they follow, what tools they follow. By knowing all these bad things, say it is going to be offensive learning. So when it is offensive learning, you will learn a lot of bad stuffs here, and it doesn't mean that you are going to use all these bad stuffs anywhere for any bad purpose. It is for enriching your knowledge with regards to offensive strategies, and how to protect your own company. Say it's a simple logic here. You have, imagine this is your home, or this is your office, whatever it is. Fine. A person with an offensive knowledge of how an attack can happen. You know how to attack a Wi-Fi. You know how to bypass a firewall. You know how to bypass the server security and steal few information. Fine. You have all these strategies. You have all these skills with you. It doesn't mean that you are going to do something bad to this company. You are a consultant who is working for this company, and what you do, since you are aware of all these strategies, how attackers attack other entities, what you do, you will target the countermeasures of how to protect that. You will perform these kind of test cases. You can call it as pen testing, or you can call it as bug hunting, identifying vulnerabilities. You will do this from your end, and you will make sure that you have all the ways through which an attacker can attack you. You're going to block that. So the first part is identifying the loophole and then protecting it. So it's like that. So ethical hackers will have a skill set like this. And most common question is like, what is the difference between ethical hackers? I mean, like, what is the difference between pen testers we have pen testers and bug hunters. What is the key difference between these two job profiles? What will be your job profile when it comes to pen testing consultant or when you're working as a freelance bug hunter? Right? Everything is based on test cases. So to start with, it is all based on the test cases. The number of test cases which you are aware of or which you have practiced is will decide your skill set. So test case is a simple test case can be like this. You have a login page here. Fine. You have a login page where you give your username, you give your password. Fine. And you have login option here, and here you have forgot password here. Fine. So this is a login page. Fine. And what does a test case mean? Test case means the first test case, I'll be looking for default usernames and passwords. I'll give all default usernames and passwords and perform a basic a dictionary based attack to check if this login page is vulnerable to any of the default usernames and passwords. Fine. That is first test case. Second test case, probably I might be trying with a password brute forcing. I can try with password brute forcing, which can be done with any of the tools, and I'll check if this login page has rate limiting set or not. What do you mean by rate limiting? Rate limiting is a feature where you go to Gmail and enter your password wrongly for 3 times. For the fourth time, it is going to prompt you with a message asking you, have you forgot your password? In case you want to reset your password, go for this options. It is going to give you a lot of other options like this. So you have a list of 1,000 possible passwords. Say, for example, all these are possible passwords which you probably wanted to try in this field, right? You have tried 3 of your options from your file here. When you go for the fourth option, this website here is going to block you. In case if it blocks, yes, then we can say a rate limiting has been set. For few of the websites, you don't have a rate limiting here. That can be a vulnerability that is called no rate limiting. In case if there is no rate limiting set on any of the login pages, probably you can use a lot of tools to and try to crack passwords or try to generate a lot of other things where websites which have OTPs, right? Where you have the option to enter your mobile number, and when you enter your mobile number, you will get the OTP. In case in this particular field where you give your mobile number, in case in this field, if there is no rate, I mean, if the rate limiting is not set, probably what can happen, I can receive like 100 OTPs in my mobile, right? So a lot of bugs, a lot of things can happen. This is with test cases. So you have so many test cases. So next time when you visit a website like this, first thing is don't think with the tools. We'll go to Flipkart. Flipkart is a page like this. Okay, I'll log out. So we do have a login page. We have a login page. We have password field, forgot field, request OTP. You have so many options. So in case you wanted to test the vulnerabilities related to authentication and authorization, what you have to do, you have to perform one by one all the test cases. So test cases are the primary skill set which is needed for a pen tester or a bug hunter. So test cases are main. So now looking at what is the difference between a pen tester and a bug hunter, probably we can have something like this. Okay, I'm Shankar here, and now in case if I'm a bug hunter, I'm into bug bounty, and what I will be doing, I'll have my area of interest here. My area of interest can be anything. It can be into programming, or it can be a non-programming module. Say, for example, I'm into servers. Say in servers, I target with server-based vulnerabilities. I target Microsoft-based servers. I target SQL server. I target cloud-based servers. I have a lot of options. So here, as a bug hunter, I have the option to choose my area of interest. If you look at every bug hunter profile, they'll have their area of interest, and they'll be strong in their own domain, right? And with this area of interest, in case if they are hunting for bugs, yes, probably they'll be able to, they'll find it very easy to hunt bugs, because domain wise they are very strong. They know the pros and cons of this particular domain here, and probably hunting bugs will be an easy case for them. So Shankar, I'm here, and I'm dealing with Microsoft servers and SQL servers. So what I'll do as a bug hunter, what will be my job profile? My role will be, I'll go to websites like Bugcrowd, HackerOne. I'll go to sites like this, and I'll choose my target. This can be abc.com, which is a company which has hosted a program in Bugcrowd, and you have xyz.com, which have again hosted a program with Bugcrowd. You have cdc.com. You have so many companies here. I have the liberty to choose any of my target, and I have the liberty to test the bugs based on my interest. So as a bug hunter, you will have this liberty to choose your client or choose your target, and based on your area of interest, you're going to understand the client and start hunting for bugs based on this domain. This can be with a bug hunter. Whereas a pen tester, again, when you hunt for bugs, say for Microsoft server, I'll be having 30 test cases to be performed. SQL, probably I have 60 test cases to be performed. So the number of test cases which you have, the number of test cases which you learn will be useful for you to test one by one for all the bugs, right? So as a pen tester, what you'll do, Shankar is here, and probably I'll be working for a company called X here, and I'm working here, and this company X is going to assign me projects of abc.com. So it says, okay, Shankar, you have got a project from abc.com, and you have to pen test their applications, you have to pen test their server, you have to pen test their network infrastructure, things like that. So what I'll do, before proceeding, I'll have to prepare my test cases. What I'm going to do, you will either prepare the test cases from your end, or abc.com will give you the list of test cases, whatever has to be done, right? They'll give you what test you have to perform, and after this, sometimes they can also suggest you with the tools. We want to use these tools and give us a report, and probably they can also give you the timing. In case when it comes to server, you cannot pen test a live server in a peak time, and make it slow it down. We cannot do that. So they'll also give you the time when you can perform all these tests. And finally, what is the output here? The output here will be a risk assessment. You'll perform a risk assessment here, and you'll come up with a score. You'll say, yes, abc.com has 13 vulnerabilities or 13 bugs, and based on the bugs, severity of the bugs, you will prepare a score, and you will finally give it to them, right? Here, the knowledge of the pen tester, rather than his area of interest, he should have a lot of other interest, like other areas as well. Because when they give you like 40 test cases, you cannot go back to your company and say, no, I don't know all these 40 test cases, I know only 10, I cannot work in this. If you say this, then probably you're on the wrong track. So you should get updated with all the test cases, whatever is being assigned to you. That is your skill set. And what is the final output of a bug hunter here? For a bug hunter, the final output will be a bug submission. If you look at this, yes, bug hunters, they also submit bugs. Pen testers, they also submit bugs or vulnerabilities. And what is the key difference? Here, the bug hunter needs to wait. He has to upload this, or he has to send this to abc.com, and he needs to follow them to get an update and to check what has happened with the bug. But here, it is not us. It is not Shankar here as a pen tester. He is not going to follow abc.com. abc.com is going to follow up with him. They'll ask you what is the update, what has happened with the bug, or what has happened with the test cases, and what are the countermeasures which you have to do, and what patches we have to apply. So abc.com is going to come up to Shankar, and they are going to ask this, and probably here for the bug which you have submitted, you will get a bounty here. And as a pen tester, you're not going to get any bounty from your client. Instead, this X company is going to pay you salary, right? And if you ask me which is good, probably pen testing is okay and it is good as a beginner, because you will have a lot of options to learn. Your learning curve will be good. You, as a fresher, you will learn a lot of things, right? With the acquired skill set here, whatever you have acquired, yes, you can have bug hunting as your passion, or in your free time you can do this. That is probably going to help you, right? So this is it. And when it comes to vulnerability assessment, okay, we'll look at a small demo of what can happen with test case. Say, for example, we are going to perform a test case for a target here. We'll take a particular target. We'll see uh, what can we do to find if the target is vulnerable or not. You can call this as vulnerability analysis, right? Vulnerability analysis will come in ethical hacking. That is one step of ethical hacking out of all these steps of ethical hacking. What we have here, first step is information gathering. I hope you should be knowing this, or you can call it as enumeration. Second step will be scanning. Third step will be vulnerability analysis. Fourth is exploitation, and fifth is privilege escalation, and sixth is maintaining access, and seven is like covering tracks. We have many many sub phases of this, but of an overview, yes, you can say these are the different process of ethical hackers. So when you learn ethical hacking, when you undergo any training, or when you are in the process of learning ethical hacking, probably you will be learning all these things, right? And when it comes to a target, when it comes to pen testing, or when it comes to bug hunting, you will probably choose vulnerability analysis or vulnerability assessment, which is going to help you in identifying a lot of vulnerabilities, right? So we are going to target this phase. And yes, as I told, we have other phases as well, whereas information gathering or enumeration is going to be very important. And when it comes to tools, yes, when it comes to tools, we have web-based tools, and you also have OS-based tools. In hand, to cross check or to verify if something is good or bad, right? So web-based tools, and you will also have OS-based tools here. And when it comes to web-based tools, we have a lot of websites which can help you in getting your output. Say, when it comes to information gathering or enumeration, probably you'll be looking at a few of the subdomains. Subdomain can be one initial step of enumeration. What do you mean by a subdomain? Subdomain is where you you have abc.com, right? And you wanted to make sure abc.com is safe and secure. You should also understand abc.com also has many subdomains like this: .cs.abc.com, www.de.abc.com. They are going to have many subdomains like this. So you have to find out what these subdomains are, where these subdomains are, and from this you will have to choose one by one, or you can choose any of the subdomain and start working for vulnerability analysis, right? So we have web-based tools. Probably the best websites can be this crt.sh, or in general, in case you want, you can go for virustotal.com, which is a very common website. We have virustotal.com. Okay, let me go for this cert.sh, and we'll give flipkart.com, since we have taken that flipkart.com, and you will get a lot of subdomains here. Fine. Yes, you have accounts.flipkart, airtelstore.flipkart. You have a lot of options here. So these are the different subdomains here. Or you can also go to virustotal.com, which is again, a very common tool here. So I'll go to search and I'll give flipkart.com, enter, and when I give relations, when I go for relations, probably you will get subdomains here. So first thing is using subdomains, like finding out the subdomains and choosing your target. And then when it comes to OS based tools, you can go for Sublister, which is a common tool. You can go for NocPy, which can also be used to generate, like to collect all these subdomains. And when it comes to scanning, probably you will have one base tool, which is Nmap, which can be used for scanning. Now coming to vulnerability analysis. In order to understand vulnerability analysis, one good thing what you should do is have a base knowledge of what is happening with the backend. Say you are sitting here and probably the target server abc.com is here, right? You have abc.com here, and when you wanted to find out what subdomains they have or what vulnerabilities this particular domain has, you need to understand the web server architecture. So first thing is you need to know how a web server is configured. It is not, I don't know anything about web server, but I'm going to do vulnerability analysis for web server. You can never say that. The common mistake with beginners and people who wanted to enter into cybersecurity domain is this: they'll complete CEH, they'll be certified, but they'll not be able to crack interviews. Why? This is mainly because they are certified ethical hackers. They have attacking strategies. They know this. That is okay, but they should have common understanding. They should technically know how things will work. So you should know at least one web server. It can be anything. It can be a Microsoft based web server. It can be a Linux based web server. So any web server, you should know first how to configure this. Once, if you know how a web server is configured, and if you have successfully learned a web server configuration, now you will know what are the important files, what important files you have for this configuration for a web server. Second thing is, you'll know where it is stored. Where is it located? You will have good knowledge of this. And third one, where misconfiguration can occur. Where any misconfiguration can occur. If considering all these important factors, if you are aware of this, probably when you do a pen testing project, or when you go for bug hunting, or when you look into ethical hacking, whatever it is, when you understand these three common criteria, it will be very easy for you. Try this once for any of the things which you are going to learn. In case if you are going to work with web server, understand the three concepts here, and then go hunt for bugs. Probably the conversion ratio of bugs, identifying vulnerabilities will be high. So we have a lot of important files here. So one important file what we'll be discussing today is, we'll go for HT access and we'll go for HT password. HT access and HT password file. Fine. What do you mean by HT access and HT password file? HT access is an important folder. Is a folder where all important configuration files are stored. Configuration files are stored in a server. So in case if you have usernames and passwords, or in case if you have a lot of other sensitive information which needs to be protected, which needs to be kept for only for private access or restricted access, probably we'll place it in a folder called HT access, right? We have different servers and different configurations, but we have started with this HT password. HT password is a file, or it can be a file inside HT access folder, right? So it has usernames and passwords. Probably usernames will be plain text and passwords will be encrypted. Say for example, it is like MD5 encrypted. Passwords will be encrypted like this. So knowing this, now you know, yes, we do have a server here, and of all the important files, we don't have time to look at all the important files here, but we have few files which are important, and one is like the folder which is htaccess folder, which points or which has another file which is htpassword. Now knowing this, we will try to check. We'll try to check if we have. We'll choose a target and we will go live and check if any website has this. You have so many options to do, and the tool what we are going to see here is Burp Suite. With Burp Suite, I'll tell you what we are going to do now. So we'll look at Burp Suite. We'll look at this, and it's a very excellent tool. It's a base tool. It's a very mandatory tool when it comes to web applications, and you want to check what is happening in the background. You wanted to change something, you can use it for a lot of different purpose here, right? And this is a mandatory tool. Burp Suite is a proxy interceptor which you need to configure, and after configuration, probably you will have it like this. I have my Burp Suite here. Burp Suite, okay, and it has different tabs. All these tabs can be used with different combinations and permutations based on your requirement. But when it comes to pen testing or bug hunting, this is a mandatory tool which is needed for web application analysis. Right? So I've installed this. After installation, you need to configure your Firefox as well. So once if you have done this, right, it's a simple configuration where you need to give an IP address of Burp Suite here, and probably you will have to install a certificate of Burp Suite in Firefox. So once that is done, probably we are good to go, and we'll see what is the vulnerability assessment which can be done with Burp Suite. I'll show you this first, and then I'll explain what happened. .gov.gn. So we are going for this government website for .gov.gn. It's a government website. It's from Guinea. So my country called Guinea, and yes, it is .gov domain. So it's a government website here. So when you try to analyze, when you try to find few information about this site, probably you can try with this. Okay. English. So as a base, you need to know what technologies they are using that comes in information gathering and enumeration. But now we are going to do vulnerability assessment here. So do we have a login page here? No. To check what all pages are there. In case you want to spider this, we can go for Burp Suite. Yes, we have an input box here, which is for typing your message. You can type your name, subject, email address, phone number, and you can send a message to them. And there is another input box here. So when you look at a website, probably you should be looking for input box, and you wanted to look at the technologies being used or the source code or where they are configured. Do we have anything vulnerable with the coding? Yes, you can go for this. This can help you in understanding the directory structure, WP content, plugins, book, asserts, CSS icon. So I have WP content. So now the directory is this. When you have a URL like this, you have a URL, the URL structure goes like this. So we are looking at fern, okay, fern.gov.gn. So this is the web server, what they have here. This is the web server which is running in the background. And we are able to access this web server from our computer. We are accessing the website, means you are accessing the web server. Now, when you're trying to access, the URL goes like this, HTTP or HTTPS : it is fur.gov.gn. You have this URL, and in case if you click home, what will happen? You will have /home. Means this web server has a home folder here. Yes, and inside this home folder, probably it can have, if you are clicking at any image, this can be 1.jpg. So in home, if you click on a particular image, so it can be 1.jpg. So the URL structure goes like this. Now, when you look at this, they have for.gov.gn/WP content. What do you understand from this? They do have a folder called WP content, and inside WP content, they have something called plugins. They have a folder called book asserts. Right? We are not going to exploit this, but we'll try this. We'll check if it is being vulnerable or not. So we have WP tag content. So we have this folder, and this folder has many subfolders inside it. Yes. So we'll see if you're able to access this. Um, just a wild guess. WP/content tag content enter. No. Okay. You're not able to access this. That's fine. But you also need to understand. We also can have some other folder called htaccess, and you can have ht password. So how will the URL go? The URL can go like this: h://for.gov.gn slash, it can be anything here, slash anything here, slash anything here, and probably we can have a URL something like this: htaccess, or you can have ht password. Yes, or you can have admin, or you can have anything. Now we saw WP content, and what we did manually, we tried accessing WP content, and no, it didn't work. Right? So what can we do? We can go for the next keyword, htaccess. So if we give htaccess here, we can see if it goes or not. Then ht password, we can check it one by one like this. Manually, it is going to be time consuming. So what we'll do, we'll prepare a word list. We'll prepare a word list which will have all these keywords. Whatever possible keywords which you have, fine, you can prepare a word list for this. And this word list, what you're going to prepare here, will be called as payload. This is payload here, and what we are going to do, we'll have this normal URL here, http://for.gov.gn slash, we'll give our payload whatever we have created, fine, one by one, and in this place. So first we'll have admin, which is executed, then we'll have htaccess, ht password. How many payloads you have? Say for example, I have 1,000 payloads, and doing this manually is going to be very time consuming. So what I do, I go for Burp Suite. Burp Suite is again a excellent tool for giving your payloads and checking what is the response of the server. Right? Again, to understand few things here, in case we have http://for.gov.gn/home. So the first keyword is home, and when Burp Suite gives this to the server, and we'll look at the response. If the response is 200, what does it mean? Yes, this folder or this directory called home, it exists. Coming back here, we'll go for admin. Admin will give this, and in Burp Suite, in case if it gives 400, what does that mean? It means this particular directory doesn't exist, or you don't have the permission to access this. Then we'll go for htaccess. If we give this, and in case if we get 301, so you need to understand what are these HTTP codes. I mean, like HTTP response codes. So all these HTTP response codes have a different meaning here, and 301 is being redirected to something else. So you can consider 200, you can consider 301, and check what is working and what not is working, right? For this, you need to have the payload. Now you might be wondering, where should I get all these payloads? Because I'm not sure about the server keywords. I don't know which files are important. So where do I get the keywords? You can probably try with GitHub. We'll go to Google. I'll type critical file found payloads GitHub. This is how you have to create your own payload. So critical file found payloads GitHub. When you go for this, you will have a lot of payloads. The one thing what you have to make sure is you will have to go for the most updated payloads. These payloads are more than 2 years. So the chances of getting the output will be very less. But okay, we'll go back. We'll go for this. Okay. So here, this is 5 years ago. Okay. Right. So look for the most recent payloads what you have, and you have to search like this any type of bug, and you have to give payloads and GitHub. Probably yes, Sysky repo will have this. Okay, I'll go to not this. Insecure user isolation. Okay, I'll show you this cross-site scripting injection scripts. When you go here, when you go to this, see your payloads can be like this. Right? Your payloads can be like this. This is for cross-site scripting, not for the bug, what we are seeing now. But you have to copy this, paste it in Notepad, and you can create your own payload list like this. Now, when I have my payload is here. Right? You don't need, means like for creating this payload, probably you don't need knowledge of this. Just copy and paste and give in Git burp suite, you're going to get the output. But understand what these keywords are. So I have a lot of keywords. How many keywords I have? I have so many keywords here, right? And as I told, manually it is not going to possible. So see what I'm going to do with burp suite. So in burp suite, I have this open, and I have the website loaded here. Perfect. I'll close this tab. Now burp suite intercept should be on. So when your intercept is on, it is going to intercept all the traffic. So now I give refresh, the page loads, right? The page loads, it doesn't have any issues here. The page loads. But when intercept is on, this traffic here will be stopped in burp suite. So I'll keep my intercept on. This is on, refresh. So now you have got the page here. See here, fur.gov.gn. You have fur.gov.gn, and you have this page here, the request what you gave here. So now what I'm going to do, I'll right click this. You can right click anywhere, send it to intruder. So I'll send it to intruder. Intruder is a place where you can give all your payloads. So I'll send it to intruder, and yes, the host is this, the port number is this. You go to positions, and in positions, you'll have, okay, let me maximize this. In positions, you have no position which is selected. So I'll select this, I'll choose this as my position. I'll click add. Why am I choosing this as my position? Because I have a list of keywords here like this. And all these keywords have to be in a particular injection point. And where is that injection point? That injection point is here. So you can choose anywhere, but in a URL, in case you wanted to give, probably you can choose here. And after this, I'll go to payloads, and in payloads, I have to load. If you know, if you have few guesses for any password or anything else, you wanted to add manually, yes, you can give it like this. You can type manually, but we have more than this. So I'll clear this. I'll load. When you click load, I have my file here. Browse to your file where you have your payload, critical file found, open, and we have all these payloads here. Proxy, it will be off. Okay. Now what I'll do, I'll go to start attack. When you go to start attack, enter. Okay. Now whatever you give here, whatever you gave here, see git ignore. Git ignore is first executing. HT access is getting executed. HT password is getting executed one by one. Fine, it is getting executed. And now burp suite is giving you the response code. It's telling, I'm giving you this keyword, and if the response code is 200, probably the keyword exists. I mean, the directory exists. So we are seeing this here. Git ignore, what is the status? It is 400. So leave that. It is not going to work. HT access, the status code is 400. No, it is not working. This password, it is 400. So when you scroll down, see here you have HT access, which has status code of 200, right? Some cases you will also have to look at the length field here, but for this, you have only 200 here, which is perfect. So what you can do, this directory exists, HT access directory exists. And what you can do, you can go to response here, go to response. It says 200, perfect. Now I want to see this output in the browser. So I'll right click this, I'll show response and click show response in browser. When I click show response in browser, I'll have to copy this. When you copy this, you can go to Firefox, and in Firefox, I'll paste this, enter. Oh my God, show response. Paste, show response in browser, copy. So it is on. Give me 1 minute. Okay, we'll do it manually here. Now you know there is a folder called HT access. So what you can do, I'll give at the end HT access, enter, and I'll check if I'm able to access the HT access folder. Yes, see here. Burpsuite gave us the result, and usually when you click show response in browser and paste it in Burpsuite, it should work. Fine, you will get the direct output like this. In case if it is not working, look at the keyword for which you got the 200 response and give that particular keyword here at the end of the URL. So when you give this, you are able to access a lot of directories here. Fine. For this, you need to understand. When you look at this in any video and start hunting for bugs, that is okay. But for you guys to really understand what is happening in the background, right? You should technically understand what this folder is. You should understand the importance of this folder. You should know why we are using this directory here and what will be the information which will be present inside this directory. After this, if you go for a targeted approach, probably you can end up here. So CG bin, we'll check. Yes, you are able to access everything here. Back, last. Okay, you have WP admin here. WP admin, okay. WP content. So you have a lot of folders, and yes, this is one vulnerability where you are hunting for critical files which should not be for public access. These files, as an outsider, this is a government website here, and I shouldn't be able to access these folders. In case if we find something like this, then we can call this as a vulnerability. And when you find a vulnerability like this, probably you can either report this. You should be reporting. Don't try to exploit this. We have to report this, and when you report this, you will that will be considered as a bug submission. You can report it directly to them. How to report? You can you don't have to show them that you have used Burpsuite and we have performed a targeted search. See here, there are more than 6,000 keywords which is running. Now it is 70 keywords which it has tested, so it is going to take some time, but it will test all the keywords whatever you gave in the payload, and it is going to give you results. So when you find something like this, you can take a screenshot of this. You can copy this URL and you can directly send a mail to them. Bug submission can be as simple as that, or you can, in case you wanted to do it in a more elaborated way, yes, you can also do that. But to be very short, keep it short. Go for steps to reproduce, and you will have to attach a POC. These two things are mandatory here. What is steps to reproduce? Steps to reproduce is where you will tell them how you got this, how you ended up in finding a bug like this. So when you can give it as points, I was browsing your website and I tried to access .ht access in URL, and I was able to access this critical file called HT access, and it was showing me all important information. What is POC? POC is proof of concept, where as a pen tester you will not do this, but as a bug hunter you will send an email to them to make them understand, yes, you have got some vulnerable information from the website and it is critical and they need to understand this. Fine. So find the email address and type this. It can be a very simple report. Don't panic with report creation. Report creation is for your understanding. So you have to understand something, and when you're sending a mail, the client also needs to understand what you have done. So this will be as simple as that. So don't complicate your reports with a lot of other things, which is going to be very bad. So this can be done, and POC you can attach a screenshot. I'll attach a screenshot of this. This is screenshot number 1, and in case if I'm able to access something else here, I'll take a screenshot of this. This is number 2, and I'll attach this. And in POC is called proof of concept, wherein you are telling them, yes, we have identified this, and to as a proof, I'm attaching screenshots. Attaching screenshot 1 and 2 for your reference, right? And attach these two and send it from your email. And if you ask me, will they take action? Why? Because you have found something which is sensitive and you have not exploited it. You have actually reported directly to them, and you call it as responsible disclosure. Right? As a pen tester, when you do this, you will include this in your report. As simple as that. You will have an Excel sheet, or you will have a test case, and you will say, yes, is there any critical file found? Yes, we have a critical file found, and you will include the URL. Which URL is this? The URL is this. And finally, after doing all these things, you will be submitting a report. You have softwares to do this. We have NetSparker, you have Nessus, which are very good tools for automating your report, but learn it manually so that when you go for tools, it will be more useful, right? So this is one part of what can happen when you choose a target, how you are going to choose a target, and how you are going to choose a subdomain. And from you have chosen a subdomain, and after that, what you are going to proceed. We have seen one test case here, right? It's a very simple test case. One test case. I wanted you guys to have a basic understanding of what is happening, and we have seen this. You have n number of test cases, right? The more number of test cases you learn, the more number of test cases you get adapted to, or you feel more comfortable with. You know, it will be more good for you to conduct any audit or pen testing assignments, right? And when it comes to hacking, probably the learning path for hacking will be very different. As I told you, don't go for CH directly. That is very bad. You might have completed college, you will be a BSc or you will be BE, and after completion, you will be interested in hacking, ethical hacking. So what you will do, you'll directly go for CEH. You'll finish the modules in 2 months. After 2 months, you'll go for an online exam, and you will get certified. But that is okay for your happiness. That is okay. But if you ask me, will I get a job with the certification what I've got? No. Probably you cannot crack any interviews. If you have to crack interviews, you will have to know basics. You will have to know what networks is. You will have to learn a lot about servers. Say you can have Microsoft Server, SQL Server. You have AWS, which you should be knowing. You will need to have few programming knowledges. In case if you're interested with programming, you can start with HTML. You can start with Java and Python, which is going to help you a lot. Right? And then go for Linux or Unix based operating system, because whatever you're going to do is based on that. And after this, go for hacking, CEH. You will understand a lot of things. Your perception about seeing things in hacking will really change. Without knowing what is the IP address, how a router is configured, what is a Wi-Fi router, and what is the access point, what is BSSID, SSID. Without knowing all these things, if you go for Wi-Fi hacking, there is no use in that. You are just playing with the tools. So get yourself technically updated with all aspects like this, and then go for CES. Right? Once you have done CES, then you can proceed with pen testing, CPT. And after this, in case you want to move for a security operation centers based kind of job role, yes, you can go for this. Then comes forensics. Right? So it has to be step by step. So learn this first and then go for CES. Probably that is going to help you. And when it comes to pen testing and bug hunting, it is all about test cases again. And we have web-based tools and OS-based tools here. It is up to you guys to decide which tools you wanted to use and go for manual approach. Don't go for automated approach with tools in the initial stage. That is not going to help you. Go for manual approach. When you go for manual approach, you will again understand things when you do it manually. And after you get comfortable with that, probably you can move on with an automated tools approach, right? And in case if you have any doubts, you can ask me. We have 1 hour of time, and I hope I have given enough information. I have not wasted your time. Whatever I told here was informative. In case if you have any doubts, you can ask me now. How to start a security company? Okay, Abhishek. Okay, hold on. Okay, one by one. How to start a security company? See, security company is not. It is not. Don't think you have to be licensed from government. This, that. No. Start it as a general IT services company, right? What you're going to do is IT services. Pen testing is one of the information technology services. What you're going to do. So IT services will be good. In case if you're alone, you can go for SMEs. SMEs are very easy to register, right? If you're a single person, you don't have any partners, probably you can register this. This will not take more than 500 rupees, probably with everything, and it is free of cost. 500 is for the other things, whatever you're going to give. You can register it online, get a certificate. That is more than enough to start with. Don't go for private limited in the very beginning level, because private limited is going to cost you 25,000 plus rupees. In case if you have funds, yes, you can go for this. But people who say I'm starting from zero and I want to minimize all my cost, don't go for private limited. Work with this, and after earning 2-3 years, probably you can convert your company to private limited. That's going to help. So it is going to be a IT services company, or it's a IT solutions company, which is as simple as that. How to configure burp suite with a browser? How to configure burp suite with a browser? Okay, that's going to take some time, but you'll have to go to manual options. You'll have to go to options here and give proxy, and type this here. You have to go to manual proxy configuration, and in manual proxy configuration, you have to give the IP address of burp suite. Burp suite is going to run in local host. So you have 127.0.0.1 and port number is 8080. Click OK. Right? After clicking OK, what you have to do, you have to install the certificate in burp. So type burp, enter. You will have the CA certificate here. Save this file. So the file is saved here. Okay, the file is saved. Now what you have to do, you will have to go to options, and type certificate. Go to view certificates, and in view certificates you have to import. What you have to import? Whatever you have downloaded. So you have downloaded this. So click this and click open. It will get imported. That's it. That's a simple configuration. After this, you can open up burp suite, and if you click on proxy, intercept is on. It is going to intercept all the traffic. Is programming and coding necessary? Okay, I'm BE. I'm BE Electronics and Communication. So I'm not a developer. I'm not a developer in the sense I can understand programming. If you give me a source code, I can understand the logic behind that. Right? In case if you are not into programming, if you see programming is not my cup of tea, you also have a lot of other domains. You have non-programming modules. Programming modules in hacking, you can choose that based on networks, wireless, based on servers. These are all non-programming modules. You can choose this. Programming modules will be this, anything which is related to website or web application or source code analysis, mobile. Yes, that is going to require programming. Apart from that, you also have a lot of other domains. How to approach company for pen testing? For approaching any company, probably the company is going to, they will need to trust you, right? because you are going to test their network. This network here, you are going to find out what is wrong with this company, and you are someone, fine. If you are a freelancer, probably the chances will be very less. So this company needs to trust you, just like Burp Suite and Mozilla Firefox. So in case if they wanted to trust you, you should have in case if you're working as a freelancer, have your own blog or a website which describes what work you have done, and you should have few clients for whom you have given the services. You should have a list of clients. You should tell them what kind of test cases you have worked, what kind of domains you have worked, and yes, you can start this at a smaller level. It depends on the place. In case if you're in a metropolitan, target for tier 3 companies, right? Tier 3 companies, don't charge them more, charge them very less, and say, I can pen test your website, I can pen test your network and say what is wrong, what is good and bad. Probably you can start like this. Companies will say, okay. The main thing companies are afraid, mid-level companies, what they are afraid of, they are afraid of the cost. They think if they go to security projects, probably they are going to ruin all the money. So make them comfortable with low cost and try to grab clients. In case if you're going to start, getting clients should be your first objective. um, what does manual methods, what does manual methods include? Manual methods, it's what we have done now. In case you wanted to test this manually one by one, yes, we also have strategies for this. We have many test cases. It can, manual cases can help in something like this. Okay, oh my god, this chat box. Okay, manual cases, say places where you cannot rely completely on the automated approach. Manual approach is like, say, if a website has an upload option and you have to upload a JPEG image, you need to upload a JPEG image. What can be your test case? The test case is whatever is going to be tested against this should be done manually. I'll try uploading a .rar file. I'll try uploading a .php file. And in case if they have a size limitation, I try uploading 20 MB file. I'll see what happens. I'll try to go for null byte injection using Burp, or I can go for a double extension. I'll change the file type. I'll insert a virus. You have a lot of test cases like this which needs to be done manually. Tools, yes, we have, but these are all different aspects of testing a upload box. So you have to approach it like this. What are the vulnerabilities with WordPress? WordPress is quite easy for you guys to design websites because it has a lot of plugins and themes. You have plugins and themes, and yes, plugins and themes are the most, are the source point for any attack with WordPress site. So you have to target plugins and themes in order to check if there is any vulnerability. htaccess, htpassword. htaccess is a folder, so it will be like a directory. htpassword, as I told you, it is like going for a basic type of encryption or hashing will be done there. Yes. Tips for bug bounty and how to start bug bounty. Bug bounty, again, get yourself comfortable with all these things and then go for bug hunting. Don't start bug hunting directly. You can learn techniques. I can teach you 50 techniques and you will use the 50 techniques to hunt for bugs from 500 companies, targets. That is okay. But looking at a longer run, you should have updated this, and after this, see which is your area of interest and start hunting for bugs based on that. That will help you in long run. Any job role in IT security? Yes, IT security, we have a lot of job openings for freshers. The problem with today's freshers is that they have completed CES, but it's tough for them to crack interviews only because of the base technical knowledge here. So yes, we have openings in a lot of clients with a lot of companies who are looking for freshers in IT security. Tell us about a real life case. Real life case and how to solve it. Where to know the latest vulnerabilities. Probably you have threat detectors. You can keep yourself updated with the threats whatever is there. Give me 1 minute. I'll tell you the site name. Vulnerability. Okay, this is with you can get yourself updated with vulnerability.com. Go to vulnerability.com, right? And in case if you're looking for WordPress, give the keyword as WordPress, and what will happen every day you will get an email. You'll get an email about WordPress. If there is any vulnerability which is being found, you'll immediately get a mail. So what you can do, you can test for those bugs in any of your targets, or give Apache. If you give Apache, you will get Apache related emails. Vulnerability.com is really good in case you wanted to find, get yourself updated with real time cases. How to create your own proxy? Okay, proxy is for what purpose? That depends on your objective. For what you are going to create a proxy. Yes, we do have a good career, and how do we know that we are ready for CEH? You will be ready for CEH when you have completed this. When you have completed this, probably you can go for CEH. Bug bounty is a competitive field. Yes, it is a very competitive field. How to avoid duplicates? You have to be fast in submitting bugs. So that is how you can prevent. What bug? Okay, what should we do? Still being a degree, second year of CSE, to learn advanced concepts. Yes, it doesn't matter if you're second year of degree or you're started with your school plus 2 or 10th. It doesn't matter. You want to learn, yes, you can learn. You wanted to learn advanced concepts, be strong with the basic first. You will know what to do with the advanced concepts. CASSP, yes, CASSP, that is a different path here. CCNA, CCNP, CCIE, CASSP, you have different options like this. You can go one by one. That is purely into networking and network security. How to steal Chrome browser cookies? You wanted to steal Chrome browser cookies, you can go for cookie editor, which can actually work good for you. Cookie editor, something like this, a cookie editor which can grab all the cookies from Chrome. Can we see everything with Directory Buster? Yes, Directory Buster can be used. You have Derby, you have a lot of other tools which you can use for finding the directories. Writing exploit, yes, programming skill needs to be there. If you're targeting for writing your own exploits, yes. Vulnerability.com is not working. Okay, it is vulnerability.com. Check this if this is working. It should work. Yes, it is double L, vulnerability.com. Government side after BCSE 2020 passed out. Government side, you're asking anything which is related to government side. Government side, in case you wanted to go, you have to go with the exams, what they have. You have to clear that, and yes. What questions? Questions actually they differ from every interview, but it is very obvious. It is very obvious. They are not going to ask any questions from CEH. They will not ask you how to scan. No, don't expect questions like that. They'll not. They are not going to ask that. Instead, you will get questions based on the company. Analyze the company. Find out what this company is using. Perform before attending interview. You need to scan the company's server and see what kind of firewall they are using, what kind of programming code they have used, what network they have, how it is being configured, And knowing this, then you can probably get the questions which are going to be asked. If I'm in my company, I have Cisco ASA firewall, and I'm looking for a security engineer. It's very obvious I'm going to question this guy with firewall, Cisco ASA. I'm not going to ask him anything with Palo Alto or something else. So you have to scan the company and find this out. Can you share the payload to us? Yes, Ranganathan. I can share this with you. Is it compulsory? No, you don't have to develop your own tools. We have enough tools which gives you enough knowledge and you can just use it. I think I missed one question. Is CH must? No, CH is not, it is not mandatory. Few companies will ask for CH, but others, they are not going to stress, like insist so much on certifications like CH. It is up to you. Right? I think we are done with answering your questions.
Yeah, sir.
Yep.
Yeah, we want to thank you, sir, like behalf of Hackers Daddy and CyberX, like for spending your time and enlightening our students. Thank you very much, sir, for
Thank
sharing
you.
your experiences.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.